from
And
opposite
we're
sides of the
live.
country.
Our first Zoom. Welcome, everybody. Polite as fuck. We come at you
Polite
from
as
all
fuck.
sides, man. You can never get away from us. We will never stop.
Oh, you're gonna go on vacation for a month? We better bring the headphones. I feel like a
Yeah.
gamer girl right now. Looking at myself, I'm like,
I know, like one of those, what is that called? Twitch videos or whatever.
yeah, I have my
I know
chair
what that
set up.
is.
Mhm.
I know.
I'm
I was
streaming.
like, what can I do to like spice this video up? I know, put on a
A
whatever
shawl.
this is called. Yeah, Shaw. It's like that adds a little color, something fun to a
Like it.
video segment. Guys,
How's
nothing
Florida?
stops us. Yeah, I'm in Florida right now. It's stormy. The summer brings in like those afternoon showers. So I think like the wind and the rain is picking up for the rest of the day. But other than that, it's been fun. I'm on my family vacation with the family. And yeah, I love it. I love Florida. I literally
good.
hopped in the pool before this and then I was like, okay, I gotta go, and came in here and put on some lotion and sat down.
What do you love about Florida so much?
The weather. I think being around family has a lot to do with it. That always makes things like so much nicer. But
Yeah.
like just like the weather, it's so nice. It fits perfectly because then when it gets too hot, we can come and like take a break and eat some lunch, and then it cools off and you have like all day. Like the weather doesn't change even when the sun goes down.
Mm.
And the ocean is so bearable. Like I won't leave. Like I'll just
Do
sit
you
there and
think it's
play and play and
like
play.
refreshing though?
It was super salty today. Like my mouth now, I'm like, like I feel it on me. Is that the margaritas? I don't know. No. Um, it's refreshing. Yeah, I would say so. Just because it's like, it's not like quite like hot tub hot, but like
Yeah.
warm enough to feel good and stay in all the time. But I know what you
Yeah.
mean. That's because like our refreshing, it literally like shocks your fucking balls back up into your
The balls that I have, yeah.
yeah. Our nipples go inverted when we go into the West Coast water. It's freezing.
I know, but I kind of like that. I feel
I
like
know.
when I lived in North Carolina and I was like so hot, like in the dead of summer, and I just wanted to cool off, and then I get in the ocean and I'm like, this is a bath, like a lukewarm
Yeah.
bath.
Yeah. Our place here has a pool, which I think is so nice, so
That does
helpful.
help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to do
Yeah.
this episode because Ellie and I were talking about moving to Florida.
Speaking of Florida.
And Ellie's doing
Yeah,
some vetting of the state.
I have been. And I wanted to ask you, like, for me, I think we have similar perspectives on this, but like, what has made you feel like you want to move? Like, what in your mind have you been like, I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to like pick up my entire life. And it's not like you're moving to LA. It's not like you're moving to the Bay Area. Like you're literally we're thinking about moving to like the opposite side. So like, what is that for you? What makes you like feel like you're just ready for that?
I'm glad you asked, because as I was thinking about this for the episode, it was like, am I moving because I feel like I'm trying to like escape something, or am I moving because I want a new adventure? And is it something that I can't get here? And I think it's a mixed bag in that answer, because I don't necessarily feel like I'm trying to escape something. Like I feel like I like the life that I've built in San
Right.
Diego, but I
Yeah.
also feel like I am not content with like necessarily my career or like what I'm doing in my day to day. And as I was thinking about that, I wrote down this note, and it says, moving does not equal happier, healthier, wealthier. That's what I wrote down.
I love that.
I think sometimes I associate it with that. It's like, oh, I'll move and then I'll like change all my habits. I'll manage my money better. I'll be more content with my life. And it's like, if I can't do that where I'm at currently, it does not matter if I'm in a different state. Like that's not going to change anything.
Exactly.
Where are you at in this?
Okay, well, I think I have a little bit of a different like outlook a little bit to it because I've been moving around my whole life. Like I think the longest I've stayed anywhere is 4 years, and it was when I was getting my undergrad. So I
Mm,
think for me, like moving is almost like a comfort. It just seems like something to like naturally do, right? Like it's just something
yeah.
that comes to me like I should do. But I feel like with this move to San Diego was my first time like being by myself, really, because I didn't have any family. Well, that's not true. I mean, Australia, but I think like just like as my choice within the country of like, okay, this is where I'm going to settle down, so to speak, like find a job that I'm going to stay at for a little bit and like find friends that I like enjoy hanging out with. And I think for me, it's just like, I do use moving as like a mechanism to be like a start fresh. Like
Mhm.
I just want to start fresh. I want to something has happened that I just want to like forget about and like become this new person. And if I move, I can become this person. And so I think for my move in San Diego, I was just like, I really want to see who I am without having like the safety of family, without having the safety of a relationship, like just kind of just like figuring it out by myself because like you're not going to hold my hand. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I think we were able to move in together and it's been like easy and fun because we've known each other for a long time. We're friends. You're friends like I can vibe with, but I didn't have like my parents right next to me or my family right next to me or a partner. So I liked that. But I think for me, like, it's also just, we've talked about this before of this feeling of just like, oh my God, like, what is our life supposed to look like? Like, how
Mhm.
we only have how long? Like, we don't live forever. What
Yeah.
is it that we want to make important? And for me, it's kind of just like even being here now is like why not? I feel like
Mhm.
so ever since we've like talked about it in my mind to myself, I'm just like, why? Like, why would I do this? What about this? What about this? Like my mind starts thinking about like all of these scenarios. But the answer is also like, well, why not? Why not? You can always move back. Like we don't have kids, you know what I mean? So I just feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of where my focus has been because it's just more so of it's another adventure.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we're in the place in our life to like put down roots right now. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we're there. Like, we're not married. We have no children. Obviously, you have dogs, which I do think like is a little different, but I don't think it means like you
Yes.
can't move. But
Yes.
I agree. I think moving is more for the like adventure. It's like traveling. It's like when you go to
Yeah.
a new place and you like are constantly using your brain because there's no routine. You're
Mm-hmm.
constantly like having to figure out where to go, what's new, trying new things, meeting new people. And sometimes when you've lived in a place for long enough, like that can become mundane. It's not to say you can't
Yeah.
like find that again, but I think moving definitely ignites that in you.
Yes. I love that.
But
I totally
I
agree.
did want to hit on your fresh start point because Lee remember when Lee was like in the travel episode, he was talking about how like a lot of kids, like middle school kids, especially like want to move schools or they feel like they like can't get past their past. They can't escape their past. And when I was thinking for this episode, it was like I was reminded of that because a part of me is like, I've done all these things here that maybe like didn't make me the happiest or like I'm not the proudest of or like it was a really traumatic time in my life. So like am I trying to escape that? Because I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
can't leave that behind. Or is it just the adventure? Which I
Yeah.
think like before you make a move to a new city, you really need to understand why you're doing it and like
Yeah.
work that out.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to like start too. Is like this is as much, especially myself, I feel like I'm very much like fuck it, who gives a fuck? Like drop everything, go do it. Who cares? Start fresh, try something new. But I think like if we're looking at it from like all of these different perspectives, I think we're kind of more so talking about like, okay, let's say you have your finances in order, you have a somewhat clear idea of like where you want to go. that I think is like where you can start thinking. And that's maybe where the like, well, who cares? I can start fresh. Because I think what scares a lot of people is like not having the security, because
Mm,
there's a lot of potential of like, if you just like randomly point at a map and pick a random place that you don't know nothing about, there's a stronger chance of it failing and you not being prepared and then feeling like I have nowhere to go back to. So
mhm.
I think that's like once you're secure in knowing like I have somewhere to go back, or you have like that extra help, or you've done a little research of where you're going and you have a reason for choosing that place, then you can start like thinking like forward, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I wrote down some tips for starting again in a new city. Do you want to
I
go
would love
through
to
that?
hear. Yes. I would love to hear that.
Okay. The first one is try new things, but become a regular somewhere. And I put that because I think like I moved around a lot, not as much as you, but like when I moved for college or when I moved to North Carolina or even when I moved here, it was like I was trying everything new and it was so fun and I was doing all the new things. But
Mhm.
I also think it was a bit exhausting because I didn't have like my place, you know? Whereas I feel like now, like there's a coffee shop by our house, Seven Seas. I feel like I'm like a regular there. Like I know my order, I know the people that work there, I feel comfortable there. Like, yeah, I branch out and try other places, but I think having that like comfort spot is
Mhm.
important. I am not the best at engaging with the people there. I think that's an opportunity for me. Like, yeah, I'm a regular there and I see the same people all the time, but like maybe I could actually strike up a conversation. Because if I
Yeah.
move to a new city, like that is a way to find new friends or to like make connections or to find out about things that are happening, like is to actually talk to people when you're at a
Yeah.
place.
I think that's, well, I mean, even when I was growing up, I remember moving to like different places and adults would always ask me the same thing, like, how are you handling it? What do you like most? Like, have you found like a group yet? And I think having like a sport growing up was my
Mm,
consistent thing. Like that's where I was a regular at. So I think, yeah, moving that into your adult life and something like a coffee shop or the same workout class or the same gym, something like that kind of gives you a little bit more of a tie to the place that you're moving to. Like kind of settles you down a little bit. I also think too, like when you first move to a place, you're so like you're on like a high. You're like literally on a dopamine high. You're like feeling like it's a vacation. You're a little bit more confident. You're willing to seek people out. You're not like kind of in a shell. You know what I mean? So I think
mhm.
using those first few days that you're there, even if you're visiting, to like go to a bar and talk to people and figure things out. You know what I mean? Just to branch out a little bit, like use that high to help you. So if you're going to this like same coffee shop over and over again, you'll be able to even ask the people like, hey, what's a good spot for live music or the best drinks or this or this
Mhm.
or this. And so I think that is probably like the best part about that as well. Legit thunderstorm right now.
I can't hear anything. It's
Oh,
really
thank
quiet.
God. Because my whole it's like a hurricane has just hit. My entire family is now out here grabbing all of the suits and the clothes that were drying on all of the things. It's like chaos. It's like the tornado is coming. Run.
It's perfect that you need to be inside the one day everyone needs to be inside.
I know. I'm like, I should lock all the doors real quick so no one comes in here.
No, I like that. That's it kind of goes into another one I wrote down, which was like uh I said say yes to everything, including new hobbies. And I like that you threw out like a workout class or like I've brought up a ceramics class every someday I'll take a ceramics class and I'll tell you guys all about it.
I love it.
But like actually finally do those things because then you meet other people and that's I feel like also too how you get connected to a city. Like when you're traveling, a lot of it is like sightseeing, a lot of it is like you don't have the actual connection to the humans that live there. But if you're going to
Yeah.
be moving there or living there, even if it were like 3 months or something, having the human
Yeah.
connection is what makes a place what much more fun or feel like home to you.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always going to be your people everywhere. I think that's what sometimes scares people is they'll start somewhere and they'll be afraid to do anything like if you like we talked about this before at last episode, like a running club, like, oh, what about if they don't have that? Like you're gonna find your group everywhere, anywhere you go. You just have to communicate. You have to put yourself out there and have like talk with them about it. I love that.
It's
Them
be
workout
bold.
groups.
Our dating mantra.
Yeah, that's what we're really trying to do here.
We're really
Desperately.
trying. Side note, cannot wait for the end of year dating recap episode because I have so many stories to tell you.
Your pro and cons list.
Yeah.
I swear we're gonna put together like you're gonna have the best presentation for it. It's gonna be the best episode yet. The anticipation of it is gonna be wild. It's just gonna keep growing and growing. I can't wait.
I've wanted to text you and tell you things. Like obviously I told you about the other one the other day, but like
I was talking to my dad about that too. He had some thoughts.
Can we tease it? Can we say, or should we wait?
Yes. Just tell him the one part. Tell him the whole thing.
Okay, so I'll just tell him the most shocking part of this date was we were talking about yoga. We're on a little hike. I hope he never listens to this. We're on a little hike and talking about yoga, and he was like, I can do the splits, and then just literally does the full splits in the middle of the trail.
I meant to ask you, was it the splits where your legs go like this, or is it like this?
It's the front and back. He's literally like a little gymnast, like arms up.
Did he have his arms up? No, he did not.
I think he did because he was balancing. He was like sliding into it, like the dirt is sliding under his boots as he's going into the splits.
Oh
and I said, "Oh, you're doing this right now." And then I walked away because I didn't know what to do.
That's what my dad asked. My dad was like, well, what did she say? And I was like, I'm pretty sure she looked at him and was like, oh, okay, we're doing this right now. And my dad just started laughing.
I didn't know what to do. My sister said that's a green flag, like flexibility.
I guess. It reminds me, I told you, it reminds me of like a 9-year-old being like, Mom, look, this new trick I learned at school. Like, oh man, poor guy. Good for him. Yeah, flexibility, all that stuff.
Confidence.
There's a time and a place. Yeah. What about if you, oh my God. What? Just so dumb. Like, what about if there were people behind you and they all had to like walk past you as he's like showing you this trick of his? It's so crazy.
I think I would have been like more appreciative of it if we were like in a yoga class together or something. And then we like go into like, you know, when they do like the splits, like people can practice their splits and he does it. I'd be like, whoa. Instead I was like, ah. What is happening?
Oh. Anyways, so, yeah, that's crazy.
It's going well, and I'm sure we'll have, regardless of where you live, I'm sure you have some crazy dating stories come up.
Yes. Okay, next on the numbers.
Did you have things that written down that you wanted to go through?
Yes, but they're more so like I'll add them if they need to be added.
Okay. I don't know what we're on. Third one. I said, take friendliness to the next level, because I think that I'm a friendly person and that I'll like say good morning or hi or whatever. But I think when you're in a new city, you almost need to be like walking the boundary of being like, is this person a little much? Because when you're trying to make friends, you have to be like, oh my gosh, I love your sweats or whatever. Like, where did you get them? Oh, and then you strike up a conversation and then you ask for their number or you invite them to do something or you, whatever, like try and make a plan with them. And that's not to say every single time it's going to pan out into a friendship or something, but like you have to be overly like out of your comfort zone friendly, I
Yeah.
think.
I think for me, if people more relate to like, sometimes if you get in your head and you're not like ready to like go out, like walking down the street and say hi to someone, or sometimes like if I'm at the dog park, for example, because I've heard this multiple times of like, oh, you can meet people at the dog park. But sometimes like when I'm at the dog park, I maybe sometimes don't necessarily want to like communicate and have a conversation with every person at the dog park. I just want like my dogs to go to the bathroom and us to get in the car. So I think taking that into the like into your wherever you're being a regular at, wherever you're deciding to put a lot of your time, whether that's like some sort of like workout class or a ceramics class, like instead of just saying hi to the person next to you, like ask them about themselves, like get to know the people around you and what's going on. Because even if you don't necessarily make your best friend that day, you're still learning about the area of like someone who's been here a little bit more. And like you put yourself out of your boundary. Like if you do that every single day, imagine how many more people you'll have around you for like not even emergencies, but just like someone to talk to, someone to hang out with, someone to go out with. And then they know friends, and like you're just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow.
Mm-hmm. You reminded me of like when you're learning a new language. Someone said this to me when I was learning Spanish or like trying to speak Spanish more. And I was always very timid because I knew I was going to like make a mistake, or like I didn't know all the words. So I just wouldn't say anything. And they were like,
Yeah.
you're going to make those mistakes regardless. So you
Mm-hmm.
might as well just get it out of the way now so that you can become better at speaking Spanish. And that like flipped a switch in my head of like, all right, I'm just going to do it and eventually I'll get better at it. And I think it's the same for literally like talking to people. It's like, it's intimidating, it's scary. Sometimes you get rejected or people don't want to talk to you or whatever. But the more you
Mm-hmm.
do it, like the easier it becomes. And I think the more likelihood you have of connecting with people.
Yes, I totally agree. I love that. And like
And
again, with that whole like, why not? Like if you're in a new area, no one knows you, like no one knows who you are. Why not? Why not just do it?
yeah, I think you can do this too. Like, regardless of if you're in a new city or where you've lived forever, it's not like you know every single person unless you live in Minden, Nevada.
Yeah, seriously.
So there's always opportunity to try doing this. Like, if you're feeling like you want to start again because you don't have any friends where you're at now, have you tried making friends?
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
why I said like sometimes moving to a new place, like not that I know it's because of the way that I grew up, but sometimes like there's something about starting new that just gives you this like confidence out of nowhere. Not that it's not like
Mm,
your normal self, but you just all of a sudden feel like the being able to like go out of your comfort zone becomes a little bit easier because it doesn't have those strings attached of like, oh, well, what about if this person knows this person? Like sometimes I agree, like we build these things up like in our heads, in our own home area, that it stops us from going out and enjoying where we live right now. But I do think it kind of gives you this like push in the right direction to try something you've never tried before, because
yeah.
you have that like, oh, no one knows me here kind of feeling.
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts? And obviously, I know your job is a little bit different, but
Mhm.
like starting with your coworkers when trying to make friends in a new place.
I had that down, but my thing with that is, so it's a little bit different for me because I work with kids. So I think using that opportunity to gain some things that you don't really necessarily think too much about when you're moving into the new, like to a new area, when you're thinking about like we just said, like stepping out, meeting new people, figuring out like where the fun things to do are, meeting people your age. But for me, like a big source of my anxiety is like, okay, where is like the grocery store? Like, where is the best Walmart? Where's the best Target? Like little things like that. I think using your advice of like taking kindness a step further when in your workplace is like, it gives you a fresh start in your workplace. And then you get to kind of relate to those people and start a connection with them without getting too personal by asking what's around the area. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And learning things like, farmers markets, things like that. I'm all for meeting friends within the workplace. It is a little difficult for like the position that I'm in. So I
Yeah.
think what I would do is more so maybe find things of like where to go and what to do, what the best time is, because that's when you're going to have like the deep conversation with people who could probably be like locals.
Hmm. I love that. And then you can even like follow up when you actually go to those places and be like, hey, I went to the restaurant you recommended or whatever, and like keep the conversation going. I think that's great.
Yeah.
For me, because my job's a little bit different, like I honestly felt so alone when I moved here. And I think it's because I kind of expected like people to just fall into my lap. And that I would like people would just come to me and want to hang out. And it's like
Right.
it really wasn't until I more fully embraced my coworkers as like people who could be my friends
Hmm.
that then that expanded my like friendships, because we would like meet for happy hour after work, or like then one of them invited me to like batch night, and then we were like, and then I met friends through that. And it's like it honestly wasn't until I actually like stepped up and was like, I need friends, I'm going to be better about being a friend to these people, that I was able to make friends, because they don't usually just walk into your life.
Yeah. Well, speaking of friends, that is one thing that I did kind of want to touch on, and something from my own experience that I think has helped me when it comes to moving is if you are thinking about like starting new in a new city or moving away from your friend group, from your life, is still keeping in contact with the people in your life. I think like when you move to a new city for whatever reason, you're gonna, okay, the reason why I say this is because like I found myself doing that. Is like I would put myself out there, I would be bold and step up and talk to people and try to make friends. But I would then like feel like, okay, I have this one person and that's who I need to stick with, or like
Mm,
share all of these things with, not necessarily overshare, but it's just something to keep in mind. Where if you still remain in contact with the people who kind of know who you are, you'll be able to slowly lean into these friendships. Because I feel like sometimes I can, like friendships and connections take time. And a lot of
yeah.
the time, like the first person you're going to meet is going to actually introduce you to your friend group. And that's how like it kind of evolves. Like your coworker may not be your best friend, but she may introduce you to awesome people that you may feel more a part of. So
Mhm.
if you kind of already feel like your cup is like half full because you have like a support system at home, whether it's like your family or your older friends, you feel a little bit better socially, like engaging with other people without having to be like, oh my gosh, like I'm dealing with this hardship. I'm dealing, because you don't want to maybe start off with those like heavy conversations, like right off the bat. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, you can't like expect the same level of friendship for someone you just met as a friend that you had for 5 years or whatever.
Right, exactly. And sometimes, like for me, I would get in my head because I'm like, oh my God, like, why aren't we best friends yet? And it's like, because those things take time, like it takes a second.
Yeah,
So I think continuing to nurture your friendships where you've been in the past will help you succeed in where you're going in the future.
I agree. I mean, that's how we moved in together.
Yeah.
Because if we hadn't have stayed in contact or made efforts to like meet up when we were both in town or take your birthday trip or whatever, like I honestly don't believe we would be doing this right
No,
now.
fully. I totally agree. And it's like important too, because then I feel like, I had that person that I could call and contact whenever I needed them, but I was still going at it. You know what I mean? It's just you never know what's going to happen. It's just important to maintain those friendships and relationships.
Yeah, no, that's great. The last one I had written down was to be a tourist, which I think is like the cheesy thing. And I know people say that, but I think when you're genuinely curious about a place, you don't care about what you look like, what you're doing, how other people perceive you. I mean,
Mhm.
granted, I'm comparing this to like traveling and being in a city for maybe like a week. And I think part of that is knowing like I'll probably never see these people again. But I also was like, I went to salsa like classes on the middle of a weekday. I tried this other thing. I went to a new restaurant. I went out of my comfort zone to whatever when I'm
Right.
traveling. So it's like, why can't I do that in a city that San Diego is literally a tourist city? People come
Mhm.
here for vacation. And I can also be that tourist and like be curious about the city because there's a reason why I've stayed here this long and why
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when you move to a new place, I think that reignites that for you, kind of like what you're talking about of this like dopamine and confidence and trying new things. And so definitely taking that opportunity to like do all the touristy things. There's a reason why everyone goes to those places or does those things.
Yeah. I also have to say on top of that is, I mean, obviously, like if your time and your budget allows it, taking multiple trips down. I feel like
Mm.
what really helped me moving to San Diego is the amount of time that I spent there before I even moved there. Like I felt like I even for the sake of like finding an apartment, obviously like we were looking at places together. So I wanted to somehow like figure out like what places are good, what places are like not so great, but I had no idea the area. So like when I was talking to people and they'd be like, "Oh, North Park, South Park, this area," I'd be like, "Oh my God, what are you fucking talking about?" But because I was there so like not even so often, I think I spent it was one weekend and then another trip that was like a little over a week allowed
Yeah.
me to like see the area like in person. Because if you treat those trips like for me, those were vacations. Like I wasn't worried about anything. I was able to like budget and take the time and space and energy to like go and visit. But for me, it was like, oh, let's go surf this area. I've never been here before. Let's go do something, that's a
Mhm.
place that I've never eaten out before. But while also like while we're there, you'd be like, oh, this is North Park. This is where this area is. This is this area. And you gain a little bit of a understanding so that in the future like when you're looking to buy a place or whatever it is you're trying to do, you have like a little bit more of understanding of the area.
Yeah. No, that's a good call out. I think that
Yeah.
segues nicely into your considerations.
My considerations, I think too, some of the things that I was looking at of like don't the do's and don'ts of moving to another, and I was saying all of these things, and one of the things was like practicing like your self-care, don't over fantasize, yada yada. So I think it's just an opportunity for like, I mean, really, I'm just talking to us because we, it's just a conversation that we've been having is really figure out what it is and why we're choosing the area or what it is that we're looking for, because obviously we can't figure this out. We're still young. We're going to make these choices in our life, which I think is beautiful. That's what makes like life so fun. But I think anything that we can do to help ourselves make the transition easier. And so for me, like one of the things is like, say, we're thinking about moving because it's through work, but your job is remote. I think it's important to think of like where you're going. Like, are you going to have people that fit your lifestyle, or if you're, going because of, you are feeling like you want to try to get away, which is fine. I mean, like, I'm not going to lie. I feel like we've done that a few times, like just to go somewhere. Like, what is it that's going to fill your cup in order to feel like everything doesn't catch up to you? And I think it's
Mhm.
important to think of the area, think of the weather. Like sometimes I know it sounds silly and like people are like, well, duh, but it's important to think like take Florida, for example. This is an area that we've been thinking of, but I also think like probably moving in the summer of Florida time. Like, I don't know if you can hear it right now, but it's like some massive lightning and thunder like storm out. And so it's like, if that's not going to be something that you're interested in, like finding the right time to go there, if it's not work that's sending you and it's just your own personal area, like what is it that's making you choose this area? Because the states are huge and it's not
Mhm.
going to have the same sort of feeling that you're looking for. And I think just being aware of your surroundings and being aware of what it is that makes you happy in your routine and be able to not necessarily copy and paste it into the new life that you're trying to build, but to to still have those securities in your life to make things a little bit easy for yourself. I'm also, it's maybe a little bit easier for me than other people because I've been in so many different places, but see if you can find someone there that you may already know that will be able to kind of like hold your hand throughout the whole process. And I think, that's important to remember.
No, I love that. The biggest thing that ties people down, obviously, is a mortgage or a lease. I think, like, why people stay in one place for so long, or like this was the struggle that we were having of like we didn't want to sign for another year because in a year we're going to be in the same predicament again of like not knowing
Right.
where do we want to be. So like let's change to 6 months, and like it's a different time of year, and there's short term like month to month opportunities, or like subletting someone's apartment and just going and like living in that area. I like what that you mentioned, like trying to go to that place once or twice before you move, because then I literally moved here without having ever been here. But I did talk to people who recommended areas to live. My cousin was down here at the time. She went and looked at the apartment before I like signed the lease. So there is like, even if you don't have the chance to move to that place, like see if you know other people who maybe know other people who are in the area or have been there and can help you out and make it less like of a shock. Because I think you can easily like sign a lease to a place you don't know in an area you've never been and then be miserable, or do a little planning, do a little connecting, and it'll make it much more pleasant.
Exactly. I mean, you can't plan everything. Did you hear that? It's fucking huge. That was really loud.
What was that?
That was thunder.
Oh, it sounded like
It's
like
so
you were
loud.
like in a underwater tank.
Well, it's about to do it again. It's wild. Anyway, sorry. What were we saying? Yeah, I think it's important because I mean, I'm very much like a control freak. Like I want to know everything and have that information. And sometimes when I move, I am able to let go of strings and anchors that keep me down, that I don't need to be, holding on to, things that don't really matter. But it is important. Like it's just an opportunity for people to check in with themselves and realize like I really don't believe we're meant to stay in one place forever. I think the United States is such a huge area, and you don't necessarily need to get out of the country in order to find something else, to find a new friend group or a new this or a new that. I mean, frankly, you can find it whenever, like wherever you're living right now, whatever city, but it's also like beautiful to see the different people and the different cultures and the way of life that's happening even with inside of the same state, the same county, the same country, that you're in, and to explore that, because you have an opportunity to, I say, take it and try it out. Like you said, if you don't have kids or you don't have like a mortgage or a lease and you have an opportunity to try something, I say do it. Why not? And it just gives you an opportunity to see things in a different perspective and see how other people live. I mean, like for me, sometimes like I love going to different like states grocery stores and how they just like serve different things because of the area. Like it's just such a fun thing to do that you don't even realize that is important, or like the way that the roads are set up. Like I just feel like you become a little bit more of like, not only do you find yourself, but you humble yourself because you realize like everybody everywhere is going through the same thing. Like an eye opener. It's very fun.
Well, who knows? Maybe you're going to see us recording the podcast in Florida in a few months.
Who knows?
On the same side of the screen.
Yeah, on the same side of the screen. Yeah. I hope we can get a beach house like this, dude. This is huge. I love this.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, go do that. Do the step. I mean, why not? Right? Find a good support system, take the step, learn a little bit, find your own culture. There's so much culture in this, country that we live in. Take advantage of that. And yeah, have fun.
Have fun. Start fresh, but don't think that you can escape everything.
Exactly.
And on that note,
and on that note, we love you guys.
We love you. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I don't even know.
This is a cluster, and we're going to leave. Go follow us on all the things, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Love you. Bye.
Bye.